And she f***ed a retard.
That completely satirical video that is alluding to nothing.
Like trans frog racing in Africa. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that we should empty the prisons and put them in the military. I'm just saying, like, they're used to...
Welcome to the 2A Procast, everybody. This is Tuesday. That's it. Welcome.
September 11th.
A plane hit the second tower.
We're bringing you breaking news.
Breaking news. So this is coming out this Saturday right after our week-long strike. So we released a 68. We released 67, podcast 67, and initially YouTube hit us with a warning, a channel warning, and they were like, hey, you can't have this medical misinformation here. It's where Tackett states his opinion on something that they don't like him talking about. So I went back through and I eliminated it. I covered it up with elevator music, and then I re-uploaded it. Because that was the only part that they flagged. They said, hey, this part right here, this timestamp is why we did it. So I said, okay, that's all they're looking for. So I got rid of it. Then I re-uploaded it, and within the first 4 hours of it being up, they took it down again and then hit us with a channel strike. So we have a 1-week ban, which should be over today when you're watching this, which is Saturday.
No news this week.
Thanks, bud. But
I did it intentionally.
You did it intentionally. You just wanted a week off.
I hit the 10 episode mark with the news and was like, I deserve a break.
So, but what's interesting is I want to talk about it for a second, and it'll be very vague-ish. You can find out more details on our Twitter. The part that they flagged us for and gave us a channel strike for was, again, medical misinformation along the lines of YouTube's policy guideline that you cannot discuss and you cannot allude to, I guess, or I believe is their phrasing. I'll probably put it up on screen. I won't put it up on screen. But you cannot talk about injectables being part of a depopulation agenda, which we weren't. We were talking about a certain individual who had said that it could possibly reduce numbers 15 to 20%. I'm being vague because I don't want to get another channel strike and not post for a month. If you can put together the dots, you can put together the dots. If you can't, go check out the Twitter. I posted what's going on up there. But anyways, we're just going to be, unfortunately, a little bit more careful. Is this where we start a Patreon? And we're like, see the unfiltered podcast here.
A Patreon or a streaming network?
Maybe a streaming network.
Maybe shows on a streaming
Maybe
network?
we get a little grillish.
It's on camera, Jonathan.
Anyways, we're back. And so you got a double trouble episode Saturday with last week's podcast and this week's podcast. So sorry about the wait.
Put them both on?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Because it's already done.
Yeah.
It's already done.
I'm excited about the future, bro.
Me too, buddy. Me too.
Do you think they're picking it up?
Maybe. Probably not yet. They'll get it. They'll understand it.
Coffee's really f***ing hot to
Is
do
it?
with. Yes.
And that's been sitting there for a minute now.
Well, I microwaved it like 4 times.
Oh. I don't like
I kept
microwaves.
microwaving it and then carrying it around and not drinking it and having to microwave it again. So it's just mainly the two like cups are melted together. So,
yeah,
how
they're
much?
fusing.
Yeah, that's why there's plastic in my balls.
My balls are filled with microplastics.
You know that you shouldn't wear like polyester underwear and stuff because of that?
Apparently, because it'll leach into your skin.
Yeah.
Well, did you know polyester is not actually a fiber? It's just plastic. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
I saw a video on Instagram. Somebody posted it, and it was like, "You're not sick. You're just being poisoned."
I think every time I have a headache,
it just went through a bunch of shit, and it's like,
every time I have a headache, I'm like, fuck,
I'm being poisoned.
Just being poisoned. Like, what was it that got me today?
Right. You don't have sinus issues. Your air is just toxic. You're not dehydrated. your water is poison.
Yeah, dude, living in Afghanistan with the burn pits.
It's not, YouTube. It's not. We're not alluding to anything like that. It's not.
Fluoride isn't poison.
Do we start out with like
it's just gives you birth
disclaimer
defense.
to do we start out with a disclaimer to YouTube
it's not
that this is a completely satirical?
I can't even say the fucking word that it's not. I can't even say that fluoride isn't
stuff.
That
fluoride
fluoride isn't a thing that you would get to avoid catching other biological things. It's just a chemical.
What? Since we're right here, since we're already on this, I have a satirical video to play for everybody, and you guys get to watch it right now. You get, sorry, just kidding. You get to watch it at the same time as Tackett. So I'm going to put up his reaction while you're watching it. Ready, and go.
We've added a new chemical to the water supply. Our scientists have invented Krylaxide to strengthen your eyelashes and promote eyelash health. Ignore claims that Krylaxide leads to horrific mutations. Those are lies spread by conspiracy theorists. Those who ingest Krylaxide have, on average, 40 to 50% stronger eyelashes than those who don't. If you experience headaches, involuntary levitation, and an insatiable hunger, worry not. These are simply signs that your eyelashes are strengthening. Certain politicians may try to ban Krylaxide, but they are radicals attempting to divide us and destroy the country. After all, we at Faceless Megacorp love you and would never do anything to harm you, nor would we ever lie to you. Trust us. Ignore the misinformation. We know what's best for your health.
The problem with that is though
that completely satirical video that is alluding to nothing.
Yeah, totally satirical. That is exactly what I see when I'm like watching TV and like medication commercials come on, or
like that. What movie is it where the guy puts on the glasses and sees like obey and like
consume,
whatever that.
Yeah, but like the whole like I don't understand how we as a society of like your average adult person is an intelligent human. You know what I mean?
I like to believe so.
You manage a lot of things in your life. Like the average person has a good credit score, and like that takes a level of I don't know. I don't. But it takes a level of like management and like personal sacrifice, and like it takes a level of intelligence to be able to manage having like a 780 credit score. You know what I mean? How is that same level of intelligence able to like watch the medication commercials and just be cool with the side effect list at the end?
Right.
Right. It's totally insane. That literally Latisse for your eyelashes will make you go blind. What?
It's like Ozempic and kidney failure.
Right. Or dude,
it's like, oh yeah, you could take this and you'll lose weight for a little bit. Your kidneys might fail, and you'll immediately regain the weight that you lost.
Yeah.
But
But don't worry, trust us.
But don't worry, trust us. Hold on one second. Hi, baby. I'm podcasting. What's up? God, babe, why do you have to call me in the middle of a podcast?
I'm still trying to find a quote. So
put it down. Find it later. Yeah, no, I don't get it, because like you can watch the entire thing, right? And it's bright colors, happy families, and then it's like could cause involuntary death, immediate combustion, and your eyes could fall out as soup.
There is this idea, and it seems to be just kind of in American society. I don't know. I guess it's kind of in all Western countries, but like I don't understand why the average human just believes that other people have their best intentions at heart. Show me the evidence for that.
Right.
Historical or modern. Show me the evidence that a major corporation actually gives a single shit about you.
I think it's because the average human being wants to believe that other people aren't vicious monsters.
How would you be a billionaire if you weren't a vicious monster?
That's what I'm saying.
It's impossible.
I think it's impossible. That's why I'm excited about what Elon might be doing.
Yeah, you have to sell a product for 100 times over what you paid for it. That's pretty diabolical.
Right.
Like
I'm excited for what Elon might be doing. I'm terrified for what Elon might be. He's a Lex Luthor type in my book.
Yeah,
he's a billionaire genius who's just taking over the world.
He's a billionaire genius that we should not forget wants basic subsidized income. You know what I mean? Like he wanted socialism under Bernie Sanders. For like, it's worth an argument that like as this ball starts to swing right again, we got where we are now by a bunch of people on the left jumping on the ball.
Right.
We're gonna have to be like, all right, back to the old arguments.
Okay, bye. Like, do you think?
I don't think we're not even gonna have old arguments anymore. I think we're in a whole new world.
We're in an entire new world, a brave new world almost. Aldous Huxley. Do you think UBI is possible? Do you think, like, just in a brief moment of like theorization, do you think universal basic income is a possibility?
Did it during COVID.
I mean, was it?
I just got us another week ban for saying that word, but
COVID doesn't exist.
They sent out all the stimulus checks.
Right.
So I mean, yeah. Look at how much money we send overseas.
Except
they could
this
give
is where I
$1 million.
lost my credit score.
Yeah. They could give the U.S. government could write a check for $1 million to every single American citizen every single year, and it wouldn't even begin to touch like the operating budget. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like we send $400 million to like trans frog racing in Africa. You know what I mean? Like could we afford it? Yes. It's the philosophical problem with the fact that like if everyone is getting money from the government, where is the government getting money from?
Right.
So it's
just
an insane loop that doesn't work.
Right.
Which blows my mind that intelligent people like Elon
would like
see a way that it works, and it just sounds
bad.
Yeah, it sounds not good.
It's taking the power strip and plugging it into itself.
Yeah.
It's like, where's the power coming from?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It seems like an immature. It seems like the idea like when you're a kid you should vote liberal because you have a heart. When you're old you should vote conservative because you have a brain.
Right.
It seems like one of those kind of things. Like, do I want everyone in the United States to just receive a basic level of income and have a happy life and have a beautiful home and have wonderful kids?
And have free health care and be able to go to school?
Is that even what people would do with it?
No.
There would be no reason to pursue anything in your life anymore. I mean, why go to college? Why get a degree? Why work hard at that job? Why work overtime? Why produce something, create something, make anything? Like everything would just...
Well, I mean, look at what people do with it now.
Yeah. I like the idea of basic income like that being compared to like grades in a classroom. If we all get A's, why do your homework?
Right. That's a good point. Someone has to lose.
Yeah.
That's the unfunctional
Someone
part.
has to be doing something.
I think that's where we're going off the cliff, or have been going off the cliff. Hopefully, we're turning the car around a little bit. But the idea of we can't have any losers. Right. People have to lose.
It's not
because that's the only way some people can win.
Yeah, I didn't make the rules for the universe.
But also, it's where your argument of everybody has a goal, everybody has a purpose and a role to fill. We just need to put them in the right role. Right? Not everybody is going to be an award-winning musician.
Right. Instead of filling the prisons full of people that think outside of the box and are kind of violent, you fill the military with them. And like, it's an uncomfortable truth, but wouldn't you much rather have psychopathic, narcissistic criminals in the military somewhere else in the world doing that stuff than just in a cage somewhere?
It's that idea of, I want the guy who will tear off your arms and beat you to death in the military.
Yeah.
I don't want you teaching my child.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I don't want you teaching my child and you're just a drain on taxpayer money in the system for no good reason.
Right.
I'm not saying that we should empty the prisons and put them in the military. I'm just saying like there used to be an idea of like what a soldier was, like how you came to be a soldier. And it was always kind of like a down on his luck, kind of rough around the edges guy. There's a good chance that he bumped into a judge that was like, you can go to jail or you can go to the army.
Military.
You know?
Yeah, and he's like, okay.
It took a rambunctious, rowdy personality type and gave it a purpose and gave it a mission in life and made them a good person.
I mean, it takes a special type to walk into gunfire.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, and you have to accept that like the military is going to have that personality type in it 100%. Because it can't work without that personality type. Right. And we completely gutted it. And what do you get then?
Dog masks.
Like, yeah, you just get pure insanity. Pure insanity. You get pure insanity in the military, and you have an entire generation of young men. What are all those guys doing with that personality type? What are they all doing?
Bad things.
Yeah.
They don't have a
it's the whole idle hands
healthy outlet.
Yeah, it's the idle hands thing.
Right.
The war on masculinity in our society has done that. It's made being a masculine young man a criminal.
Well, I mean,
like, you want to ride dirt bikes?
Right.
You're a hoodlum. You're a criminal.
Right.
Like,
you want to go rip some dirt bikes and just ride around your neighborhood?
You want to shoot guns and post it on your Instagram?
Oh.
You're not allowed to post a picture.
Extremist.
Yeah. Everything that's masculine, especially everything that's like young and exciting for a young dude, it's all morally unacceptable, societally unacceptable, or physically illegal now.
Well, it's also just unfortunate in regards to censorship. It is like, oh, you want to talk about something controversial that we don't agree with?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you want to argue for your way of life?
Right. You want to argue for your ideology?
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, your way of life, according to the last popular vote for the president, is the most popular way of life in the country.
Right.
But we're still going to suppress it.
But go fuck yourself.
Crazy towns.
I guess maybe we should do a little bit of housekeeping this morning.
Sure.
And say, if you want things like this Chunkless de la Muerte t-shirt, you can find it at Tacticon.com. If you want to join a business course where you learn all about business things and get a website hosting service and a free website template. And, well, I mean, technically it's not free because you pay for the course, but it's included with the course.
Terrible.
Yeah.
That's a terrible plug.
I'm not a good salesman.
Jake does a better plug of plugging the 2A Pro course.
That's a good point. It's down below in the 2A Pro course where you can learn, you can thrive. You can learn all the things
make
about
a business?
running a business.
You should do it.
There's people making tens of thousands of dollars a
$20,000 a month.
Yeah.
I've been told.
So I've been told.
I
don't look at numbers. I make videos. I feel like we're off the trail, off the rails, and we haven't even started. Anyways, so toxic masculinity is one of the segments/sections we're going to be introducing into the podcast here, and I get the honor, I get the privilege of being able to bring you the first toxic masculinity, and this is a story of my father. So toxic masculinity, I'll give you a little underlying idea of what it is. It's satire on the phrase toxic masculinity because I believe us and you both believe that men need to be somewhat toxic. It is just masculinity that the world needs. So anyways, here's the story. I was maybe 9, maybe 8 years old, and my brother was a problem child. Still is a little bit of a problem child. Did something, wasn't working with my mom very well, was disagreeing with her, arguing with her, and just constantly. My dad gets home. They're still fighting. My brother and my mom, not my mom and my dad. They're still fighting. My dad eventually, quells the argument down, tells him to go to his room because they'll talk later. It's all flustered, and he's very centered and leveled. He is storming down the hallway, and under his breath goes, "Bitch." And my dad gets up. He's not a violent man. Mm-hmm. Gets up, runs down the hall, tackles my brother to the ground, slams him on the, grabs him by the shirt, slams him on the ground, pins his arm down, looks him dead in the eye, and goes, "You will not talk that way about my wife." Yeah. And I was just like,
if you think that your nuts are big enough to swing in the jungle with me, young man, then okay. There is a fine line between abuse and being a father.
Right.
But I do expect, not with girls. If you have baby
girls. There's a difference.
When you're raising a son, there's going to come a day when there's only one king of the castle.
He's
there's
gonna
only
buck
one
up.
man of the house. And he's going to think his nuts are bigger than your nuts. And you have to be that calm old man that reminds him
my nuts are bigger, boy.
My nuts are bigger than yours. Especially crossing the line with mom like that. She may be your mother.
Right.
But that's my wife. That's my woman. Yeah. And if I wouldn't let someone say it at a bar,
I'm not letting you say it.
You're not going to say it in my fucking house.
Absolutely not.
I don't think it's totally insane that fathers and sons have a fist fight at some point.
I don't think so either. I saw a video on Instagram, and it's every year on the son's birthday, the dad and him put on boxing gloves. And I think that's kind of awesome.
It's pretty hard.
He's think you can beat me yet, son?
Yeah.
But it's that idea.
He gets old and just bites his own kid.
Just Tyson's him. But that really stuck with me throughout the years for a couple reasons. One, that just it's his castle. Mm-hmm. You're not gonna not here.
Not my woman.
Not
my prize. And then do you know what it took me to get this girl?
Right. And then him saying my wife.
Yeah.
Right. It is I am here to lay down the law of justice.
Yeah.
And it's right in that moment.
It's such a good. Someone somewhere is losing their mind calling CPS right now. You know what I mean? But it's
go for it.
You're a man that stood up and protected your wife.
Right.
You're a man who taught a valuable lesson to a young man.
Right.
And that young man got checked in his home, and you just set a standard for how that young man needs to treat his wife. Like, I think things like that are good when you're growing up as a young man. I think you should have a mentor person in your life that's willing to be a man to you.
To be a gorilla.
You should have some, you should have some experience of what the jungle and the world actually is in a controlled environment in your house. And like your dad checking you against a wall when you say "fuck you" to me or something.
Yeah.
It's an entirely different thing. I can't remember. It might be Nick, who's the politician from Virginia, Nick Freitas. I can't ever say his last name.
His last name reminds me of fajitas.
Yeah, I can't ever say his last name. But he has a great thing where he talks about like,
it's not that Fuentes guy. That guy's no. We're talking about the dude with the beard.
Yeah. But he has this great thing where he's like, I'm raising my sons. I'm paraphrasing super hard, but he's like, I'm raising my sons to be warriors. I'm raising my daughters to be princesses. I will spoil my princesses and I will deprive my sons.
Right.
And like super paraphrased, but I agree. You have to teach a man how to be a man. You have to teach them how to be in control of their emotions. You have to teach them how to be the rock that a family's built on. And you have to teach a woman how to get what she deserves in life.
Right.
Like how to expect what she deserves in life. It's two very different roles that they're filling in the world.
Right. Well, it's what Carly says to like her friends that are, I would say, looser with their bodily morals. She tells them, you're not a consolation prize. You're not a participation trophy.
Right. Yeah.
You're a fucking Olympic gold medal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they have to earn it.
You were saying that Carly has friends?
No. Carly has no friends.
You said a lot of key words in that sentence there.
Loose with their bodily morals and friends. Who believe they're consolation prizes.
All I heard was, my wife has friends with low self-esteem. Do any of them have a shaky relationship with their dad?
Many.
What's the number one best thing a woman could say to you at a bar? I don't talk to my dad.
I don't talk to my dad.
The importance of a father cannot be underrated, man.
For both sides.
Cannot be underrated.
For both sides.
Your role as a father with your daughter is that you set a standard for like what she'll accept in her life.
Right.
If you're absent, if you're angry, if you only reward her behavior with money, like whatever it is that you're doing,
that's
like,
what she's going to expect.
You got to remember you're setting that playing field for her.
Right.
Like,
she needs to look at your relationship with your wife as like, that's how I'm supposed to be treated.
Yeah, and like say you have a son and a daughter in the house, your son says some crazy shit to your wife, you get up and get a little handsy with your son, like you shouldn't beat his ass.
No. Maybe.
Might deserve it. But like there's a fine line between being a parent and child abuse.
Yeah.
But like you get up and get a little handsy, your daughter also learns something there.
Right.
Your daughter also learns like I should be with a man
who's not afraid to get a little handsy.
Doesn't allow someone to talk about me like that.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I struggled with a lot when I was married, is like listening to the drama from the workplace of your significant other. Is like, because women want to cackle.
They want you to hear them.
Yeah, they want to invent about their day, but it's like more than that. They're not looking for a solution from you. They're not looking for any. They're just cackling.
Mm-hmm.
I can't listen to how Steven at work said some shit to you.
Because I'm going to want to buck up on Steven.
Yeah, because now when I see Steven at the Christmas party, there's going to be a quiet moment by the punch bowl where like I remind Steven that he may have a nice 401k, but I'll cut his nuts off in the parking lot.
And now I'm the inappropriate one.
Right, and now I'm not allowed to the Christmas work parties anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because 6 months after Steven said some smart shit to you about taking his parking space, I threatened to snip his nuts. Like,
it's the fucking meme that has gone around where it is like, when men say that they'll do anything for a woman, it means we'll go and we'll fight dragons.
Right.
Not that we'll do laundry and dishes.
Right. Don't stop asking me why the laundry hasn't moved from the dryer. It made a 2-step process and I'm out of steps.
Do you need me to go die alone in a field so you can survive?
Right.
I got you.
Can I die in the field instead of doing the laundry?
Because I will choose that every time.
Every time. Every single time. I would literally rather climb a mountain in barefoot than do the fucking laundry. Why can't I just take things out of the dryer?
Right.
I want it wrinkle-free, so I leave it in the dryer. So I come along and just and I take what I want out, and then tomorrow when I need something wrinkle-free, I just run the dryer.
How high was your
again.
electricity bill?
I don't know. It's all included. Ask Ryan.
I don't know. He knows. He's like, why is my electricity bill $1,500?
Don't tell Ryan I left the oven on for like 12 hours the other day. The heater quit working, so I
just hit that oven and opened it up. And you're like,
I grew up without nothing. I got ghetto style in me, dude. I was like, it was 55. And I was like, I woke up and went, nope. I started coffee and opened the oven, put the oven on 425. I came home and I was like, man, it is toasty in this son of a bitch. And looked at the oven and was like, Jesus.
Oh, no.
Fun fact, though, it won't burn your house down. So
just leaving your oven on?
Yeah, you can take that off your anxiety list.
Yeah, no, why would it?
I don't know, but that's totally a thing. Like, oh, did I leave the oven on?
Well, I think about it just more of like in terms of like, is my electricity bill from PG&E going to be $3,000 this month because they're raping me?
Roughly 30 cents an hour, depending on where you live.
An amp hour, yeah.
Yeah, so like absolute worst case scenario, I owe Ryan like $10. Let's say it was $1 an hour because it's PG&E.
Homie's not used to California PG&E prices.
Ryan, I'm sorry.
I run my house at like 69 degrees, and my PG&E bill was still like $350.
It's absolute highway robbery.
Oh yeah,
it comes up every podcast. I feel like, why do we have antitrust and anti-monopoly laws when there are clear monopolies? Cell phone providers, cable internet providers, and energy providers are clear monopolies, and they're almost all owned by a single entity at the end of the day, anyways.
Right.
So even if there's two in your state or in your area, the prices are set by someone above them.
Right.
So you're gonna pay the same thing no matter what you do.
And no matter what, no matter how big they are, if they fail, they still get subsidized by
they just get subsidized by your pocket also.
They go down because they mismanaged funds.
How many thousands, like how many I don't know, millions of acres of California wildland have PG&E been directly responsible for burning down?
All of them.
Like,
I want to say all of them.
And it's just totally
allegedly.
It's never going anywhere.
Right.
Yeah. Watch us get a strike for that.
This podcast is going to be called Allegedly.
Allegedly.
The alleged podcast.
Allegedly.
Well, that was the car fire. It was the Paradise fire. All of it was due to PG&E malfeasance.
Yeah, well, it was like I didn't live out here when a bunch of that stuff happened, but it was like equipment failed that they had refused to update, and like they were fined, and here's the problem with that stuff. The fine from the FDA, the EPA, the state, the federal government, like whoever comes in and is responsible for your organization that just caused some massive catastrophe, the fine is always cheaper than had you spent money to make the catastrophe not happen.
Right.
And you're not responsible for the insurance claims, you're not responsible for the catastrophe. Nope. So good business is just letting it roll and then paying your fee. There was a Japanese business guy that was making it wasn't DuPont related, but it was very similar, like Teflon and plastics and shit like that. And I want to say he was doing it in Texas. There's a whole Netflix documentary about it, but he, as just a cold businessman, understood that the fines for dumping the chemicals directly into the river, no filter process at all, was cheaper than going through a process to get rid of the chemicals in a clean way. So for like 30 years, they just paid essentially like a yearly fine to the EPA to dump into the river. So who's the criminal here? Is it the businessman who's using the system, or is it the EPA who is just like?
It's both.
You are complicit in what this guy is doing at that point.
It's both. It's both at that point, because like
the fine should be you close your business. It's not paying money into the government. It's just we come along and put a dude in front of your store and put a lock on it.
Well, it's one thing. Let's say
I hate the fine process is what I'm getting at. If you break a geological, if you break a law like that has that kind of impact on society, you're poisoning millions of people.
Right. There's a lot of gray area.
There's no fine.
There's gray area and nuance. Maybe you're running a mechanic shop and you're dumping oil out back in the ground. Maybe don't. Maybe don't. That's where it came from, but maybe don't. You know?
Yeah.
But
my uncle in Tennessee who dumps it all down the storm drain.
Right. Maybe don't. But like that's fine worthy, right? That's a fine. But you're dumping chemicals into the river, dog.
Yeah, dude,
that is you're going to prison.
Like decades,
right.
And people were actively suing the company. There was like all these farmers and local people were getting sick. Yeah, it's not pay a. It's the same bullshit when you have major banks. Wells Fargo has been caught. Like I literally can't count how many times being the go-between for cartel money. Like it's the bedrock of their business almost. It's like washing cartel money, and every time it happens, it'll be like it's always in the headline like. Wells Fargo or whatever the bank is, caught washing $10 billion worth of cartel money, pays $500 million fee. It's okay. So you came in and you like the federal government just took a percentage cut. How is that any different than
because the federal government facilitated?
Right, right. How is that any different than like a local street cop just going to a drug dealer and being like, I'm not gonna mess with what you're doing, but you owe me a weekly vig. Like it's the same thing.
Right.
I like saying on the show,
theory.
it's something I wish all Americans understood better. Stop thinking that the government is some omnipotent parental-like being that just does good. It isn't. It's a corrupt, broken criminal organization that monetizes through theft.
Well, it's the idea that power corrupts, but then people look at politicians and they're like, no, they have our best interest at heart. And it's like, why?
Why would you think that?
Why? Apparently, did you know like Nancy Pelosi has never cleared like $140K a year?
Yeah.
And she's worth like 20 something plus million.
Oh, dude, it's way worse than that.
Way worse.
She's like worth a couple hundred. Oh, God. It's way worse than that. And dude, her wealth ballooned from less than 100 million, like 20, 50, that kind of ballpark.
During some sort of massive event that happened
during
through the United
some mass
States.
global thing that our government may have been responsible for originally.
Allegedly.
Ballooned hundreds of millions of
Right,
dollars. Satirically.
Yes.
Yeah. This is a humor show.
This is nothing but a comedy podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We're not even nothing we say is true. It's
correct.
It's
correct.
Nothing we say is true, and everything we say is aimed along the guise of trying to make you laugh.
We should start every single podcast by saying this is a completely fictional podcast.
That's not a bad idea.
Nothing
this is a
that we
completely
say
fictional
is true.
podcast. Nothing we say is true. Everything we say is a joke. Let the show go on.
Yeah. Disclaimer.
Disclaimer. It's like ridiculousness. Please do not send in clips.
Yeah. Where do you get your clips? Where do you get your clips?
Where do you
get
get
your clips?
Where do you get them?
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 They just steal them from the internet.
Talk about somebody who does not get enough credit.
Rob Dyrdek?
Rob Dyrdek.
I'm
I'm not a big Rob Dyrdek fan. I don't want to be friends with Rob Dyrdek, but like
what he's done? Yeah.
really impressive.
From what I've seen, I haven't deep dived to see if he's a dirty criminal underlord or anything.
I don't think so.
But he built up a bunch of skate charities. He's built tons of skate parks.
Yeah.
He does a lot of stuff for getting kids into skating. He's built multiple businesses, part of DC Shoes. He married a Playboy bunny. Like,
He built skate parks through a nonprofit, huh?
yes, he did.
There's something to that.
Maybe we should start building skate parks.
Gun ranges.
Gun ranges through a nonprofit. John.
Methane.
Jonathan. So, ideological interlude. What do you got?
All right. So my favorite poem is a poem by Edgar Allan Poe.
Do you want to explain what ideological interlude is, or do you want me to explain it?
It's an ideological interlude.
Perfect. Continue.
It's an interlude of ideologicalness. Do you guys get it? It's a short brief in the show where we're just going to talk about something philosophical and impactful.
Continue.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So El Dorado is my favorite Edgar Allan Poe poem. I've liked it since I was a kid. There's an old John Wayne movie called El Dorado, and his like sidekick Mississippi, the whole movie, periodically he'll quote a little chunk of the poem.
Oh, that's awesome. So
But-
it's not The Road to El Dorado, the animated film?
No,
okay.
different
That's
things.
a good film.
It's the original. But the idea, the poem is about Gaily Bedite. He's a gallant knight, right?
Gaily Bedite, the Gallant Knight.
Yeah, he's Gaily Bedite, the gallant knight who had journeyed long singing a song in search of El Dorado, right? Like his life pursuit is to find the city of gold, like eternal happiness, right? And at the end of the poem, it says that over his heart fell a shadow, right? And like fell as he found no spot of ground that looked like El Dorado. So he looks to the shade, and I love that in the poem they use the word shade, like it's just a good use of vernacular. But he says, shade, where will it be? The land called El Dorado. And I think the line that the shade says back to him is, I say it to myself every day. It's just been beat into my head by myself since I was a little kid.
What if it was wrong?
It's ride, boldly ride, the shade replied, if you seek for El Dorado. He says, over the mountains of the moon, down the valley of shadow, ride, boldly ride, the shade replied, if you seek for El Dorado. Because there isn't a place. It isn't a destination. It's a journey. It's a pursuit. Life is the pursuit. Life is the journey. You're never going to get to that destination. You're never going to get to the city of gold. You're never going to stack all of the things together where you sit down in your recliner and go, nice. Every single day of your life is going to be a knife fight. You dictate the terms of that knife fight. It's just a pursuit. Like don't ever let life get boring. I think when life get old men retire and they die.
Yeah, because they get bored.
Yeah, you just give up.
Right.
I don't
Dudes
think
that are
you
still
can-
90 that are working.
Right.
It's like, how?
And it doesn't have to be just have a garden.
Right.
You know what I mean? You have a reason to
purpose.
be here.
Right.
The second you lose your reason to be here, I think that's it. I think the human body just
Withers,
gets rid of
decays,
itself.
and
Yeah.
dies. Yeah.
I think the point of life is to just ride boldly, ride, and I love it. Ride boldly, ride. The shade replied.
Well, it's that, yeah. It's the idea that, and no matter where you go, you do it boldly, you do it proudly, you do it gallantly.
Because then when you look back on it,
That's what you have.
there's nothing anybody can take from you.
Does that mean El Dorado is death?
I don't know. Maybe. I kind of like that.
Right? You just go through life as bold as you can, and then you arrive at the end of El Dorado. And
I
it's
like
the
it.
sweet. Well, I mean, that would make sense with Poe because it would be the sweet release from life.
Right. Right. Great writers and poets are typically very like.
Not narcissistic.
Yeah, I was about to say
but,
narcissistic too. but that's-
Nihilistic.
Yeah, nihilistic. On that vein though, can we stop acting like Bukowski was like some incredible writer? It drives me fucking nuts.
Yeah, dude, I'm totally fine
Bukowski
with
was
that.
not a good writer. He was just a drunk alcoholic grump from New York.
Yeah.
Stop it. Same with Hunter S. Thompson, except Hunter S. Thompson I think was actually an extremely good writer. I've never read anything that was Hunter S. Thompson that you didn't get hooked and then read to the end. He's compelling and he draws you in, but he had a very similar kind of nihilistic view of the world. But like Bukowski's just read Bukowski. He's just grumpy and everything's awful.
Let's pull up a quote from Bukowski. Let's see what Bukowski has to say.
He's just grumpy and everything's awful. Like you could just find a fentanyl addict bum and that's Bukowski. Like it's just he just knew the right people.
Charles
somehow.
Bukowski quotes. Let's see.
We're probably saying Bukowski wrong the entire time. It's probably someone who's like a big Bukowski fan. That's
yeah.
like, it's Buck.
It's Bach.
It's not Book.
The male, for all of his bravado and exploration, is the loyal one, the one who generally feels love. The female is skilled at betrayal and torture and damnation. That's...
All right, well, I'll give Bukowski that one.
You're hanging around the wrong women, dude.
Old Buckhack Bukowski. Nolan didn't catch it, but some of you did.
I didn't catch it because I am stupid.
I said a gross porn term.
Oh, gross. Oh, Bukowski. Nice.
Ew.
I wasn't listening.
Do you ever?
I tone you out.
Do you ever find a little quiet time? Get on your incognito mode, and then just find yourself wondering, like, what happened? What led you to this point?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
I feel like there's a difference between a 25-year-old guy and a 35-year-old guy. It's like I can accidentally slip into introspection by, you know what I mean? I was trying to do some whole other thing, and now I'm just imagining like
You're thinking about what got you here, what
Yeah, like,
led you
what?
here.
Why would you allow 52 guys to do that? Like what? What?
You're
is
watching
the
it
chain of
and
events.
and instead of blood flow,
I want to interview her.
Yeah.
I need to like understand like
you poor girl, we need to talk.
someone needs to write a story about you, dude. Speaking of, have you ever?
It's a film, but it's a drama that just leads to the climax of the
52
Bukowski
climaxes?
And it's called 52 Climaxes. And it's her tale of what leads her to this.
It's called How Did I Get Here? And it's an indie film. It's one of those indie films that ends
It's French
where
for
the
some
movie
reason.
ends and the titles come on and you're like, really?
Really? What?
You know what I mean?
There's no more to this?
Yeah, dude. There's this great movie with Colin Farrell. I love Colin Farrell, dude.
Yeah,
I
he's
think
great.
he's a super underrated actor. But he's like he gets out of prison and he's like a protector guy for some sort of criminal organization. But he's like trying to do good, and he gets like a personal security job for I think it's Keira Knightley, but like whoever it's either Keira Knightley or Natalie Portman because they're the same person. But it's they are. It's one of them, and they play like themselves. Like they're like a Hollywood starlet, and he's supposed to be like their protection. But he's the whole movie. He's constantly being pulled back into like the criminal underworld, and like he's trying to avoid it. And you know, the whole movie, this dude is super violent. He's a hard ass, but like he's trying to be good.
Right.
And there's this beautiful moment at the end of the movie where he like the criminal organization has threatened the starlet, and him and the starlet are now like in love, right? So he burns the criminal organization down. It's very John Wickish at the end of the movie, right? And it's like you've spent an hour and a half building towards like Colin Farrell being a hard ass, and you're so into it. He leaves that scene, right? This big moment of like awesome.
Right.
And he's going to run away forever with Natalie Portman or Keira Knightley or whatever John Cena
Natalie Knightley.
Yep. Natalie Knightley. That's exactly what it is from now
Keira
on.
Portland.
Keira Portland. He literally, it's like they're in a Land Rover and they drive back to his apartment for him to like get a bag.
Okay.
And so like the movie has an ending. There's a whole storyline. There's a character arc. There's character development. There's a relationship development. The whole movie is done. And then he closes the front door of his house, turns around, and like a 15-year-old skater punk kid stabs him and runs off. And the movie ends with him just dying in a parking lot, looking at Natalie Knightley in the car. And he never gets to run away with her. He never gets to like live the life. He just dies in the fucking credits roll.
Ah!
Yeah. Because the movie is like it's the perfect action movie formula.
Right.
Like it's the perfect action movie formula, and it has a love affair in it to where like whoever you're watching it with, like female wise, is like kind of engaged in it too. Like such a good movie, and it just ends with such an indie like. Why would you do that?
Well, I mean, that is if you take a look at it, that is the indie film producer, indie.
Yeah.
It is the. Okay, we're
this
gonna
bag
build this
blowing in the
beautiful-
breeze
right.
is the most beautiful bag in the breeze I've ever seen.
What type of? We're gonna break into the nihilism of life where anything can go wrong, and it's like there's a reason the hero's journey works.
It's depressed rich kids writing about a nihilistic experience that they've never had.
Right, they just want it.
Yeah, you want to do an hour and a half movie on like how life is shit? I got you, bro.
I got you.
Yeah. None of it is going to include movie stars.
No.
We're just going to follow a fentanyl addict
We're just
around
gonna
for
follow
12
a
hours.
crackhead bling bling with his golden shopping cart.
Dude,
I miss bum fights.
Dude, I do too. I morally reprehensible. Thank you. Morally reprehensible
Completely.
from top to bottom. The guy that ran it, that sold all the DVDs, horrible human being.
Terrible.
But dude,
Oh my.
I was into that when I was like 16, man.
I'm bang bang.
Dude, when they handcuffed him to a light pole, like a street light pole, and they had a plate just on the edge of his fingertips. He could touch the edge of the plate, and it had a crack rock on it the size of a baseball.
We used to be a proper country.
Why was that? It's so insane. It's so insane that someone some guy woke up with his VHS handy camera, walked out of his apartment, walked up to another human being and was like, I'm going to give you the biggest crack rock you've ever seen in your life. But first, I'm going to handcuff you to this light pole.
And I'm going to watch you
and you're just going to
struggle.
reach for it for 20 minutes.
Yeah, you want this crack rock? I'll give you some money with it too.
What do you think that guy was doing when the camera wasn't? What do you think he was like, oh, I don't want anyone to know about this?
I don't think that
Not
guy
good.
has a shed of shame, dude.
He was like, I don't want anyone, everyone needs to know. Yeah, probably right.
Do you remember felony fights?
Also, one of my favorites. I think they should bring it back. Felony fights, I can make a better moral argument for. Dude, the one where he's like, it's the Mexican dude and the white guy, and he's like,
He's
fucking
hey, Holmes.
drops his knee on the guy's face.
Dude, that guy died.
Yeah, did he actually?
Yeah.
I didn't know
That guy got killed.
Oh, I've watched that video like a lot of times.
Dude, that guy
the
died.
sound of his broken head, like sucking air through his broken head. Oh.
And they're fighting like this.
Yeah, and dude, because the white guy at the beginning, they're asking him like, "What's your favorite fight?" And the Mexican guy's like, "I've never been in a fight before," and like clearly like done like DOC
he's
time.
in his ballerina stance, like, hey.
The white guy's like, "Oh, probably my favorite fight was I stabbed this dude in the throat, and like he went down, but he got up and he was like ready to fight." He goes in this whole like thing,
diatribe,
and just immediately gets fucked up by that Mexican dude. Immediately gets bomb.
Yeah.
Like, and the Mexican guy after the fight just maintains the line. He's real G's move in silence. The white dude talked a bunch of shit and got stomped out.
Yeah.
The Mexican dude said before the fight, never been in a fight. Said after the fight, this was my first fight. And just kept it moving.
Dude.
Killed that dude, apparently.
Well, that guy also was slinging some racial slurs, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's prison fights.
But it's felony fights.
Yeah. Dude, what do you think their like NDA looked like? What was the paperwork like that those guys signed? It was probably
I don't think there
not
was
great.
one.
Yeah.
I don't think there was one. I think that's the thing. I think he woke up with a handy cam and he went,
was it the same guy?
I wouldn't do
If it wasn't the same guy, it was like his friend.
It's his cousin.
His friend was like, I don't like this weird stuff you're doing where you're putting like bums in sleeping bags and beating
What
them
if
with
we
a bat.
did it with felons?
Yeah, what if we let them fight back? I think what you're doing is morally reprehensible. I'm going to allow them to fight each other. Do you remember they would put a bum in a shopping cart and just shove the shopping cart down the stairs?
Down the stairs, dude. And he would go, bow, just fly. He gets up. His face is wrecked. He's all,
yeah. And then they handcuff him to a light pole. The world.
Are we bad for laughing at it?
The world that we no. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit at all.
We're all ants and we're all dying.
It's morally reprehensible. It's awful. But like also like I didn't make it. I'm not responsible for that, dude. I never bought any of those tapes. Like I didn't feed that monster at all. I just saw it. Like,
dude, that's a good point to bring up. We saw that on YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube.
Dude, YouTube back in the day had felony fights, bum fights. It had everything. It was borderline live leak back in the day.
Dude, you can still find porn on YouTube right now.
Yeah.
But do not talk about things we talk about.
Right.
Because it's okay for some reason to have
let's have a conversation
that on
about
YouTube Kids.
Let's have a conversation about the definition of underage pornography. And it's any minor in a sexually suggestive position. Now, go on Instagram and look at every high school girl's fucking bikini pictures at the beach with their friends.
So then that just means that
not
Instagram is allegedly...
They're sex trafficking.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And all of those pages have hundreds of thousands of followers. They're massive following of pages.
They're allegedly, Tackett.
Yeah, it's allegedly social media companies are...
By definition.
Using your children to make ad revenue.
This is satirical.
And you as a parent... satirically are allowing your children to post those pictures online, and it is just I don't give a shit about two grown men that decided to smoke crack and then get in a fist fight with each other and some other horrible human being filming it and putting it on the internet.
I almost
There's
agree
no
with
children
that.
involved.
Yeah.
They're all consenting adults.
Right.
If you're a wealthy guy and you have a pool in your backyard and your daughter is always out there taking pictures in her bikini,
what are you doing?
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Dude, I saw an interview with the, the two biggest TikTok stars. I don't know like now, but it used to be
you brought this up in a different podcast.
Yeah, the D'Amelio sisters.
Yeah.
And the dad and mom are like,
we approve everything first.
We watch all of their stuff and approve it. That doesn't explain the question that the interviewer asked is like, why are all of their videos 15-year-old girls in bikinis dancing? And the mom's only thing is like, oh, well, we approve it. That didn't make it okay.
That makes it worse.
Yeah, it makes
in my opinion.
What you're saying is that it's far worse. Like you are an adult that understands that sex
You're prostituting your daughter.
Yeah, and at any point, you could click on the 50 million followers that she has and really quick. What are the metrics? You don't even have to like scroll through followers and try to figure it out. You could just straight look at the metrics and be like, oh.
35 to 55.
Yeah, it's 35 to 55-year-old men, and there's out of 50 million followers, that makes up 35 million or more. That means that you're leaning into the metrics. It means you're looking at the metrics and selling the audience that you have what your audience wants.
Right.
And what you're selling is your underage daughters. It's despicable. It's 10,000 times worse than paying two crack-addled bums to fistfight each other.
Right, but YouTube, you won't allow that, but you'll allow that.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Satirically, all of these organizations are making money off of being fucking pedophiles.
Just remember that everything we say is fake. It's not
Satirical.
true, and we are lying about everything we say.
Yeah.
But we're letting you know that it's a lie, so you do not believe us.
Yeah.
Do not believe anything we say, ever.
The average user on TikTok is 13 years old.
User.
What does that mean for attention spans? What does that mean? I mean, what does it mean just all the way around, dude?
Well,
why are we okay with that? Like, if we can all see that there's this thing that's destroying
it's laziness.
The brain.
It's laziness.
Why do we just let it persist?
Because it's laziness. Because people are not boldly writing. It's because we have entered an age and entered a space where I don't want to spend time with my kids because I'm stressed out about the workload that I have on because I'm getting underpaid, taxes are rising, and I can't afford food for my family, so I'm not spending time with them. I want to relax, and I want my instant dopamine hit from scrolling, and they're scrolling too.
I need to sit down with this 12-pack, and I need you not to talk to me for an hour.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead of getting home and going,
I'm guilty of
hey,
it.
family time.
I'm guilty of it.
Right.
I'm guilty of it with Mace. Like, I'm guilty of it.
We all are. That's
why don't you go watch YouTube for a little bit?
The studies that have been done on the dopamine that these release from scrolling, and it is absolutely destroying us.
Horrible.
And I'm so happy that my feed is curated to the way it is, because I'll scroll for a little bit, right? I'll hit maybe 2, 3, 4 scrolls, and then all of a sudden it hits me with, you're faking your dopamine right now. Get off the phone. And I'm like, ah!
Yeah, I started following like philosophical pages because of you, because it does the same thing. I hit like a philosophical thing and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, just put it down. Yep. And then I go and do something else.
Yeah, I have to physically like set it somewhere.
Right. Like, why is a country, why is an entire species, moreover, why are we not influencing everyone to play a musical instrument? And here's my back for this. Here's my backing for this.
I don't know.
Did you know that when you are creating, writing, and playing music, right, you're just free-flowing, your brain is firing on more neurons than anything else?
Really?
Yes. You are at a higher neurological peak than anything else you can do in your life.
It's interesting. I do my best. It's not meditating.
Maybe not anything else in your life, but from what I know.
It's not meditating, but it's not. Like, that's how I'm creative, is I like sit down at the end of the day, and I don't have any electronics on.
You just pen, paper, maybe.
I just play some music in the background. It's quiet, and I just... Interesting. I think music is hella important.
It is, man.
Like, hella important. I think you should be... I think it's a mistake that most people make, is they're not picky about what they listen to or what is playing on their TV.
It's a big problem.
They use TV as background noise, and they just have top 25 playing in the car or a random radio station.
I'm just
and
as bad, dude. Like, I turn on YouTube videos to have them play in the background.
Yeah.
Generally, it's about stuff that I'm interested in. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think you should be, specifically music, I think you should have playlists. I think you should be super specific about what you listen to. You said it fairly recently, never listen to sad music when you're sad.
Right.
That kind of stuff.
Right.
You can control your emotions, which control your decisions, which control your outcome. And the easiest way to control your emotions is music. You feel super angry, put on some like hate death metal, and you're way angrier.
Right.
So what is the direction you want to go?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Do you want to fuel that emotion, or do you want to shape it? Because I said it to you the other day, the only thing that we have control over in life is ourselves and our reactions to the world around us. So it's you sit with that and you're pissed off, you're angry. Do you want to get more angry, or do you want to calm down so you can think logically?
Yeah. That's why I don't think that, like, I think you should enjoy music I don't like... It's nothing more annoying to me than when someone is like, "Oh, I like everything,"
and then they don't.
No, you don't. I listen to everything.
Right.
When you say you like everything, that means that you listen to country, Taylor Swift, and the most popular rap song.
Are you about to listen to anime music with me and then immediately switch over to Swedish death metal?
Right.
Because I am
with the full organ. I'm listening to it because I am trying to beat in whatever emotion they had into me. I'm trying to forcefully shift my emotion via this song. If I'm gonna have an important business meeting, it's just straight 2000s fucking gangster rap.
Yeah. You want me, you're gonna come for me. I don't care.
Rob you.
Right. I don't care about what you have to say. I'll rob you, Jonathan.
Jonathan.
I love you, Jonathan.
$1 million, Jonathan.
$1 million.
I literally wanted to send him a text and was like, "We want $1 million," and just follow it with the fucking. And just be like, "Balls in your court,
Balls
sir."
in your court, bud. There's our offer. Hit it. What you got?
Monkey.
Okay, monkey.
So you have a quote?
I do.
Hey, I quoted a poem.
Technically, but that's not your quote, loser. So it's from the Dalai Lama. It's from the Dalai Lama.
Okay.
And the Dalai Lama says, "Our prime purpose in this life is to help others. And if you can't help them, at least don't hurt them."
That's good.
So the reason I like that quote, the reason I read that and I go, "Oh, I like that. Daddy liked that," is because I am naturally drawn to want to help people. I naturally have always wanted to be a protector. I've naturally wanted to safeguard the innocent. I think most males are.
Yeah.
And there's always been moments in my life where someone or something is going sour and I go, I want to help them. I want to help them. The back end is what really draws me into that quote, is because if you can't help, just don't make the problem worse.
Yeah.
You don't need
you
don't need to burn it down. The fire is already going. You don't need to add gasoline. Like, just let it be. Be there to help. And if you can't, don't hurt it.
I like that.
Right?
I like that. I think you can just put a lot of good into the world by just focusing on not putting any bad into the world.
I think so too.
I don't think you're really in control of much else.
No, you're only in control of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
your wife, because they don't have rights anymore.
Right. Trump when they lost their uteruses.
It's gone.
Okay.
So what quote are you looking up right now?
So I knew the road I wanted to be on.
Is it the road to El Dorado?
So no, it's an excerpt from a letter written by Hunter S. Thompson, and it was someone asking him for advice like in their life and their career. And I like his kind of it's a long letter, but this is like a quick snippet of it. He says, to give advice to a man who asks what to do with his life implies something very close to egomania. To presume to point a man to the right and ultimate goal, to point with a trembling finger in the right direction, is something only a fool would take upon himself. And I like that. I like that because it
that's deep.
It feels like other conversations and environments I'm in right now, where I can feel that there are people helping me and you. There are people trying to point us in the right direction, but they are intelligent enough to know that they can't tell us what that is. Ride, boldly ride. We are being told to just be bold
and ride.
And to ride. No one can point that horse for you.
Right.
If you just live by that moral compass and you don't compromise on who you are and what you want to see in the world, what you want to create and produce, you just don't compromise on it. When you get where you're going, you'll be proud of who you are, what you did, and how you got there. The other option is that you get where you're going at the end of it all and you're not proud of who you are and how you got there. And that seems like the worst. That the idea that you make heaven and hell for yourself,
right?
That seems like hell.
Right.
Your final moments on earth, realizing that you don't like who you are.
Right.
That's
you made those business decisions.
Right. You made those
business
decisions.
It's just business.
You cheated on all 5 of your wives. You destroyed all the relationships with your kids. Like you had a nice yacht. Like, do you think Jeff Bezos? That's just completely taking like mental health off the table. Because I think most of those people just will not experience that feeling.
Well, I think it's that idea of
like
that narcissistic
egomania and narcissism,
narcissistic psychopathy, where they don't even see it. Right? It's. I think there's something to be said, outside of the aspect of full-on psychopathy of people who are legitimate mental issues. I think the average, I say the average, but most individuals who aren't legitimate psychopaths or schizophrenic, I think if they find themselves falling into that realm, into that world of it's just business or making bad decisions based on where they are, I think what they choose to do is go, well, I have to do this too so I can survive, or they're in the wrong. They shape the narrative, right? They lie to themselves so they don't become the bad guy.
Something interesting with that, something I said this week, I think that when you lie, the only person you're lying to is yourself.
100%.
If you extrapolate a lie over a timeline, when I tell you the lie, I know that it's fake, but you believe it.
Right.
Over time, you realize that it's fake, and I believe it.
Right.
And the only person that's really, truly being damaged over the long term is me, because I'm filling myself full of fantasies that aren't real.
Right.
Everyone else is figuring it out and going on their way.
And how much easier
I'm just
is
building
it
a whole
once
world
you do
of,
it?
Yeah. Once you start down the road, you can just live in that fantasy forever.
Right.
And then to dig yourself back out of the fantasy is to blow up how many personal relationships do you have that are built on this idea that doesn't exist?
Right.
Like, I think that's kind of something that happens with people that like rise in like popularity, like exposure, like famous kind of people, this idea that they build a personality and image that they just aren't.
Right. Like I built this. Well, I mean, you see it with a lot of actors. Like they have these interviews between actor and actor where they're talking about how they've lost who they are because they've played so many roles.
Yeah.
And it's like.
Yeah. I think something really fascinating is good actors seem to get stuck in a role. If you watch their like career of stuff, they'll be kind of moving in a direction of a character, and then it's like they get this one movie that's just perfect for them.
Ryan Gosling is Ryan Gosling now.
Yeah. Like one of my favorites is Val Kilmer.
Yes.
Val Kilmer was many things. Then he played Jim Morrison in the Doors movie, the Oliver Stone movie, The Doors, and he was just Jim Morrison after that. Every movie is an element of Jim Morrison. Same with Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp was Johnny Depp until he played Hunter S. Thompson in Fear and Loathing, and then he was just Hunter S. Thompson after that. The Captain Jack Sparrow is just, it's an embodiment of Hunter S. Thompson.
Just
and
flamboyant.
He says that in interviews, that like he just, because he lived in Hunter's basement for a couple of years. Like he for all intents and purposes, is very Hunter S. Thompson-esque, like in a person. But he wasn't that through his movies until he actually played Hunter S. Thompson, and it's like he never totally got the skin off.
Well, it's the fragility of
like
the human
Tom Hanks
psyche.
played a and then he was just a piece of shit for the rest of his life. He's a pedophile, and that movie's terrible.
That's going right in the front.
My most unpopular opinion is that
Forrest Gump is
a terrible movie.
That's fair.
He gets taken advantage of by the love of his life. Ginny just wrecks his life the whole movie.
The entire film.
And no matter how successful he is, and all these amazing things that he accomplishes, there's no one in his life to let him to explain to him how incredible it is.
Constantly
he
alone.
Can't explain it. And he's doing all of these things because he's in pursuit of the love of his life. And she can't keep her legs closed and not die from AIDS. It's a terrible movie. It's a terrible movie.
You're not wrong.
And she fucked a retard.
She knew what she was doing. Yeah.
Why are we okay with that movie? Make Forrest and Ginny opposite gender roles and tell me that you're cool with Forrest Gump.
No, you're not.
It doesn't matter that Ginny was a triathlon runner. It doesn't matter that Ginny saved people in the war. It doesn't matter that Ginny built a... She's a retarded girl who got blown out by a dude with AIDS. You know what I mean? It's unacceptable. The whole movie's unacceptable.
I think
I do not understand why it's a piece of Americana. I think it's a beautiful movie. It's a beautifully done movie, and it touches all of these aspects of America, and it's very Americana, and it is an iconic movie. I'm not trying to take any.
Right.
The production of the movie is amazing.
Phenomenal.
It's just when you watch it, everyone else seems to get this like warm, happy, it's a wonderful life
in
feeling.
All your anger, in your just anger.
I don't get that at all. I watch it and I'm like, oh, the world is a terrible place.
You feel yucky.
The whole movie starts with like her being like sexually assaulted as a kid, and like it's a dark fucking movie. It's not. It's kind of like the song Coco Cabana. You know what I'm talking about? Iconic song. The whole song is about a Vegas like dancing girl drinking herself to death.
Right.
She drinks herself blind.
That's a good point.
That's the song. The song is that everything is going well in her life, and she's this famous dancing singer in Vegas, and she falls in love with a guy at the bar, and there's a pistol fight in the bar one night, and her love dies, so she just drinks herself to death on the same bar stool every night. But the theme of Coco Cabana is super upbeat and happy, but the lyrics are horrible. That's Forrest Gump.
That's art.
It feels good, but like none of it's good.
You're the kid reading Bukowski, dude.
Yeah. Also, does anybody else I get the direct impression that their kid is also retarded.
No, it's brought up. It's brought up in the film.
Is he like me?
Yes.
Yeah.
And she said,
why are we okay with that? We make Simple Jack and we go, that's ridiculous. No one should ever make that.
Right. But then we love Forrest Gump.
That movie's terrible. Love is like a butt. Like, why are you talking to me? What's the real of that?
Because it's the 70s and people still liked each other, Tackett.
A 60-year-old black woman in the 70s is sitting on a bus stop next to a retarded white guy in a bow tie who just starts randomly talking about his chocolates. Bullshit.
I think it's adorable.
That old black lady in 1974 said, why are you talking to me? Or, real life story, that retard was a racist because it was Alabama in 1972. He wouldn't have...
All he knows.
My mama told me life's like a box of chocolates. Only eat the white ones. Like, come on. It's just there's just a layer. That whole movie is just not. It's not believable.
I don't like the gritty grime that you're putting on Forrest Gump.
It's not believable.
No, it's a movie, Tackett.
Right, but I want to escape into the reality of what that movie is. Whether it's good, dark, whatever. I want to escape it. Have you seen Hereditary? Horror movie?
Yes, of course.
That movie gets you from the very beginning, and you're hooked in it for the rest of it. And it has that wonderful, daughter at the beginning. I'm saying so much. It has the mentally challenged daughter at the beginning that does the sound, and that is throughout the movie with no explanation. She never comes full circle, but the entire movie, you're like, oh, she's coming back. It builds this level of anxiety and anticipation that never comes. So when you walk out of the movie theater, you have that. There's something about it that made you anxious the whole time, and it never got resolved.
Fantastic films, dude.
Yes, A24, man.
It's one of those. It's one of those things, and this comes full circle.
My point is, what does Forrest Gump leave you with? When that movie ends, what is the feeling that you're left with? Because it is not inspiring Americana.
You're left with AIDS.
Like, it just ends, and you're like, I don't know where this
went.
Good.
I don't know where it went.
It's my most unpopular opinion.
That's
I
fair.
think that movie's terrible.
But this comes full circle into music and what soundtracks can do and just underlaying sounds. Because did you walk away from Hereditary and walk out of the theater and still hear that noise?
Yes. Or like,
and you're like, did you fucking hear that?
A low grumble that you almost don't notice.
Almost like a static from a gramophone.
Yeah.
But it's just
the
like just
1919 did a really good job with that, with their like Warhammer song, that like boom, boom, and it just plays the whole movie in the background, like super.
That's the one take film, right?
It's the one where they're like carriers in World War I.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, I watched that on the plane. The amount of work that went into that film.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to watch that because it is.
And the audio track is a character in the film. I love it.
As I was watching that film, all I was looking for was where they were hiding their cuts. And oh my God, it is phenomenal.
Yeah, I thought that movie
phenomenal.
Was super good. It's not a great like action movie. Like if you're sitting down hoping to see like lots of no. It's a biopic or whatever.
Yeah.
Like but
you watch it and you go
super good.
And then the way it ends.
Yeah.
It's just
1919 solid.
It leaves you feeling hurt.
I thought Dunkirk was all right too, but not anywhere near the
Dunkirk. It was okay for me.
Yeah, it's not anywhere near. Dunkirk was like some middle ground between 1919 and Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah,
like
it was like here's something.
Here's something. We should do movie reviews.
I'm down.
Yeah,
we'll hit up Admin. He's doing movie reviews.
Is he?
Yeah, he's done a couple.
Well, our first episode can be on a full breakdown of why Forrest Gump is actually a terrible movie,
film,
and you should not allow your children to watch it. You should let them watch bum fights instead.
Blang blang.
What's more realistic?
Bum fights or Forrest Gump? Bum fights.
It's bum fights.
Especially if you live in San Francisco.
What's the chances that your kid runs into this wonderful, happy-hearted, mentally challenged guy who's a multimillionaire versus what are the chances your kid runs into two crackheads fist fighting each other?
Bling bling. Who has
it's gonna be the crackheads.
It handcuffed himself to a light pole.
Yeah.
Tearing his arm off trying to get that crack.
You want to know the destruction of society? It's that. The destruction of society is that. Before, you had to have some other human being that came along and like came up with this idea and filmed you. Now you can film yourself and you can just punish yourself. How much social media stuff is literally that? How many things have you seen that's like a multi-million follower channel and it's like the guy puts mouse traps on his nipples,
right?
And he just rips mouse traps off his nipples, and you're like, you watch it. I'm gonna watch it.
I'm gonna watch it every time.
But like, there's no if you're the producer, the editor, and the crackhead.
Yeah,
that's the destruction of society.
Destruction.
We needed a separation between crackhead and producer.
It's like church and state, but it's crackhead and producer.
We let Bling Bling in at the table to make a little money, and now you get Jake Paul. It's exactly how that happens.
Dude,
exactly how that happens.
I saw a post, and did you see him walking into the fight?
It's the truest shit I've ever said in my life.
You let Bling Bling into the producer table, and you get Jake Paul. Did you see him walking into the fight?
I didn't watch any of it.
That's good. Care. It was fucking atrocious. But he's walking in, he's wearing like this baby blue suit, no shirt underneath. It's like the 6 button, right? He's walking with some girl that he's paid for sure. Yeah. And he's walking and he looks horrible. I read a comment that was like, he looks like every Eastern European mob boss that dies within the first 30 minutes of the Statham film.
He does though.
And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Just a bunch of random misplaced tattoos and like, he's just trying very hard. The dude would probably beat my ass in a fist fight, right? Like he's legitimately he fought Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson
didn't fight Mike Tyson.
Whatever. Now he wants to fight Conor. You see that?
Yeah. It'll be a money grab again.
It's a money grab, and
I don't know.
Good for you. When Conor and Mayweather fought, they both made $50 million to park their car in the parking lot. Their contract included they didn't even have to walk in the building. Showing up to the event netted them $50 million apiece. They both could have shown up and in the parking lot just been like, meh.
When are we as a society going to pull the money from fighting and it is no longer a money sport where you can make no money. It is just for the love of the game.
Why would anyone actually know? I think all the guys that fight, especially MMA dudes.
I think a lot of MMA dudes would do it.
Money.
Yeah. I think a lot of dudes would do it.
I think if you took every dollar that Conor McGregor had from him,
But like it's impossible
He'd be the
because you're gonna have
exact
dirty
dude.
bets. So like you can't take the money away from it ever.
you got bets now.
Right.
I mean, you can bet on you can bet on politics.
Tell me there's not something wrong in the world when you can bet on politics.
If there's something wrong in the world when Vegas exists and we're all supposed to act like it isn't money laundering.
Right.
It's an entire city built on money laundering.
Right. That's what it was built up for.
Right.
Allegedly.
That was its design and inception. It is what a casino is good at.
Right.
Like
money laundering.
I can't even begin to fathom the amount of intelligence black site operation money that goes through Vegas. I bet you it's most of it.
Oh.
Why would you not?
Right.
We know that special operations like tag teams will do money grabs. We know that they will intentionally off book, off mission set, track a drug dealer, guy selling anybody in the black market. They'll intentionally track them in order to rob them and take money. And then that money goes into black operations. Like it's not, I don't think it's a super common thing, but it's like, I've heard multiple stories where like, sounds like that's like a legit thing that you're going to do.
Right.
Where would you wash it? I'm going to wash it in a casino. I might not pick Vegas. I might pick like Thailand or,
Right.
That's what North Korea does. North Korea's main funding for their government is online internet hacking.
That's awesome.
And then they wash it through Thailand casinos.
That's freaking
like
great,
riverboat
dude.
casinos.
That's hilarious.
It's all digital too. Their last biggest fund, they took $1 billion electronically, but they were only able to wash like 800 or 900 million of it. But they hit like the Bank of Europe or something. They like digitally hacked like a major banking system and just took like $1 billion and then washed it
and
through
then
all these
Vanguard,
tiny little
BlackRock,
casinos.
State Street recorded it as a loss.
Right. Everyone made money somehow.
Why is it?
Even the Thailand casino made money.
I don't want to think about it anymore. And with that,
Do we bid ye a queef?
I quit.